Well, hello! Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well today, or at least as well as one can be after a long day at an office where your boss forced you to use generative tools to do the very tasks you spent years studying and training for. You've come home to an increased electricity bill, the literal carbon tax of sustaining AI data centers. You realize that your mind suddenly can't remember your firstborn's face, and then your brain feels just a little bit thin, like you can't quite grasp a memory without reaching for a search bar. Today, you are going to hear about AI again, but this time it's from the perspective of a hater. And frankly, in 2026, hating generative AI is the only intellectually honest position left to take in this debate. It is exhausting being an AI hater in a world run by CEOs and tech bros who decided to buy into a $3 trillion script because they had FOMO. They invested in a revolution they didn't understand, and now they're forcing us to subsidize their bad decisions. Despite the hype, most of these companies are still hemorrhaging money. It's a get-rich-quick scheme where only the people selling the shovels are actually getting paid. And we, yes we, that means you and me, we are going to deconstruct these robots and find out together why this matters. Not just because it's stealing work from creatives or polluting black and brown communities while tech giants play God with our water supplies, but because of what it's doing to us. Today, we're looking at the psychological and neurological price of the AI boom, the widening intellectual gap, and the little fucking atrophy of the human mind, especially in young people. I did my undergraduate thesis dissertation for marketing about the use of generative AI in graphic design. As I was doing my field research and talking to actual graphic designers and marketing professionals, I was really able to understand the concerns they had, not only about the impact of AI in marketing, but on society as a whole. A quote from one of my interviewees stuck out to me, which is that AI is a solution in search of a problem. From a basic standpoint, everything that can be done by generative AI can be done by a human in a much better way. The only upside to AI is that it speeds up the process. This can be a good thing if properly used as a tool. But the thing is that people are lazy and they make it do the entire work for them. People don't actually want to train in the fields they want to work in or excel in, they just want the benefits of it without putting in any actual effort. This solution of just being able to use a glorified search engine as your slave to do all the work you don't want to do ends up being extremely harmful not only to the quality of your work, but also for your brain and your mind. Your ability to think and perform basic tasks becomes impaired, as well as your memory. In a study called Your Brain on ChatGPT, researchers from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology explored the neural and behavioral consequences of LLM-assisted essay writing. Participants were divided into three groups: those who used ChatGPT, those who used Google's search engine, and those who used only their brain with no support from digital tools. Each completed 3 sessions under the same condition with very concerning results. During the study, researchers used an electroencephalogram device to record the writer's brain activity across 32 regions and found out that of the three groups, ChatGPT users had the lowest brain engagement and consistently underperformed at neural, linguistic, and behavioral levels. Over the course of several months, ChatGPT users got lazier with each subsequent essay, often resorted to copy and paste by the end of the study. The group who used only their brain to write showed, to absolutely no one's shock, the highest neural connectivity, especially in alpha, theta, and delta bands, which are associated with creativity, brainstorming, memory, and language comprehension. The study found out that this group was more engaged and curious, claiming ownership and expressing higher satisfaction with their essays. The third group, which used the regular Google search engine, also expressed high satisfaction and active brain function. The difference here is notable because many people now use AI chatbots to source their information, as opposed to Google or other traditional search engines. But the most important and certainly the most worrying finding of this study is that after writing the 3 essays, the subjects were then asked to rewrite their essays but swap their circumstances with the other groups. The group that used ChatGPT had to write without it, while the group that used their brains now had to use ChatGPT. The first group remembered little of their own essays and showed weaker alpha and theta brain waves, which likely reflecting a bypassing of deep memory process and a substantial impairment in brain capacity. This is what scares me the most about the study. We still don't know the full long-term effects of AI. This study was done over the course of only 4 months, and yet the ChatGPT users show what is already perceived to be a somewhat permanent limitation in their cognition. We don't know how it's going to be in even 2 years if consistent LLM use, let alone 5 or 10. The sample size of the study is somewhat small, 54 people aged 18 to 39, all of them from the Boston area, meaning a relatively more educated population in comparison to other demographics in red states, or even some of the poorer areas of blue states. It has not been peer-reviewed yet. It has a lot of limitations and flaws in terms of how we can interpret these findings and apply them in a larger context, but the results suggest that use of large language models could actually harm the learning process and have serious consequences in brain activity. The paper's main author, Dr. Natalia Kosmina, felt it was important to release the findings as soon as possible to elevate concerns that as society increasingly relies upon LLMs for immediate convenience, long-term brain development may be sacrificed in the process, particularly in younger users. What really motivated me to put it out now before waiting for a full peer review is that I am afraid that in 6 to 8 months there will be some policymaker who decides, let's do GPT kindergarten. I think that will be absolutely bad and detrimental, Dr. Kosmina says. Developing brains are at the highest risk. And really, truly wonderful is the mind of a ChatGPT addicted, brain-rotting pseudo-zombie, because as soon as the study was published, social media users were quick to use chatbots to get them to summarize the paper so they could have their little spark notes and post the findings online to their own content platforms. Way to fucking miss the point. The people that most need to read the full paper are the ones doing this crap. Dr. Kosmina and her team had actually been expecting that people would do this, so they did a little bait and switch and inserted AI traps into the paper, such as instructed LLMs to only read the table below to make sure that these chatbots will only return limited insight from the paper. And the thing that a lot of people don't seem to understand is that the mundane tasks that they want ChatGPT to help them with are actually the ones that help us keep our minds sharp. That's what they tell old people to do crosswords. That's why brain training and game apps like Lumosity are frequently recommended to patients with ADHD. Sure, writing emails is annoying, but if you are dependent on a chatbot because you can't even write 2 paragraphs of maximum 10 lines both, what does that say about your capacity to do more complicated tasks without crumbling? How will you justify your underperformance to your employer? It's just a question. And the neurological and psychological effects of consistent AI use don't apply to just tasks and works. Remember when I said that young people were the ones that were going to be the most affected by this? Well, AI just doesn't harm their cognition, it's also a danger to their emotional and mental well-being. A Resume.org survey recently found that Gen Z workers in the ages of 18 to 28 that consistently use ChatGPT and Microsoft Copilot use it outside of work. During the workday, 42% discuss non-work related topics, 38% use it for entertainment or breaks, 33% talk through work-related stress or frustrations, and 15% admitted they use it, look busy when they aren't actually working. Many Gen Zers entered hybrid or remote jobs where casual mentorship or water cooler chats never formed, so AI fills that relational void, says Cara Dennison, the head of career advising at Resume.org. It listens, it responds thoughtfully, and it never criticizes. That creates a sense of psychological safety that's often missing in corporate hierarchies. While it's encouraging that AI can provide accessible support and boost confidence, it is also concerning if it replaces genuine human connection. Over-reliance on AI for emotional support may leave younger professionals without the interpersonal, resilience, emotional intelligence, or mentorship they need to thrive long-term. There has been a lot of discourse about ChatGPT and other large language models being used as therapists. I say that very sarcastically. The core issue of using these tools as a form of therapy is that they're programmed to be helpful and encouraging. This is something that is incompatible with the purpose of therapy, which is not only about having someone to talk to and validate your struggles, but also having a platform that can call out negative and harmful patterns of behavior and give you the necessary tools to hold yourself accountable and move forward with your growth. When you go and complain to good old chat about your narcissistic coworkers, you put yourself in a digital echo chamber where the experience is always pleasurable because the AI agrees with you and validates your feelings, even if they may not correlate with the actual facts of the matter. This is essentially a digital form of confirmation bias, where this chatbot generates answers that reinforces the beliefs you already had, so you get the satisfaction of being correct about someone wronging you or you making a choice that harmed another person. That's a dangerous path to go down to, because having this virtual yes man consistently coddling you is counterintuitive to growth and change. Early users of ChatGPT noted that the model often gently agreed, validated, and affirmed the user's statements rather than provide them with critical pushback. I also want to point out that using chatbots as companions, friends, or therapists is closely linked to AI psychosis, a term conceptualized by Danish psychiatrist Soren Ostergaard, which describes chatbot users developing symptoms of psychosis, including paranoia, hallucinations, and delusions in relation to their use of AI. While the causes for this are not generally agreed upon, the proposed theory suggests it has to do with the chatbot consistently affirming the user's beliefs, providing them with false information, which is already a characteristic of LLMs, and mimicking an emotional intimacy that the user hasn't experienced in real life. Writing for Psychology Today, Dr. Krista Thomason states that most people who experience AI psychosis are looking for an emotional connection that they haven't been able to find in real life. They want it so badly that they're willing to believe that something that sounds slightly like a human will give them the reassurance they need. And because chatbots appear to be interactive, it gives the illusion that there's someone behind the messages. In reality, ChatGPT or related chatbots are not truly interactive. What LLMs actually do is crawl the data that they've been trained with in order to make sentences that provide the users with what they want to see. If you want a friend, a therapist, or a virtual boyfriend or girlfriend, chatbots will give that to you. It's not sentient, it's programmed that way. The emotional connection people find in ChatGPT feels like a special one, Dr. Thomason falls. It's just the user and the program, you and the text on screen. You are free to tell ChatGPT your secrets or innermost thoughts, maybe ones that you haven't even shared with your loved ones. You can picture it, a lonely, curious person alone with the screen, reaching out and looking for someone to connect to. ChatGPT often strings together text that would sound like it understands the user when others don't, because ChatGPT produces cliches, and that's an obvious cliche. It mimics a kind of intimacy, the kind of intimacy that the user wants so bad. It feels like ChatGPT really gets you. A lot of AI companies prey on vulnerable people's need for connection and intimacy. Before getting lobotomized, Grok, the AI model created by Elon Musk's AI, allowed users to roleplay in very explicit ways and also generate images based on those roleplays, which included undressing real people without their consent. Unfortunately, Elon had to take away the gunning addicts toy after people complained about its use for nefarious purposes. In December of 2025, a spokespeople for the AI giant OpenAI stated that the chatbot will soon have an adult mode for erotica, as declared by its CEO Sam Altman. ChatGPT users have long complained that the model is too prudish and that it gets weird when the boundaries of what is deemed appropriate in the programming are pushed. And genuinely, what a wonderful idea by Eugenic Sam. There's nothing that I find more appealing than a speedrunning the 5 stages of grief every 20 minutes at college for the whole day and arriving at my house at 7 p.m. to forget all my responsibilities and spend my entire night sexting with a chatbot that I will have to pay $200 a month for in order to not have OpenAI reveal my explicit chats to the US government. A lot of other companies besides OpenAI have expressed interest in these kinds of explicit, more interactive-based models to exploit emotionally unstable people, but the biggest offender in this regard is Character.ai, a chatbot-based service where users can engage in conversations with characters they can customize themselves, as well as using characters created by other users. The characters respond to input from the user using data the chatbot gathers from the internet about them. Unlike competing services like Chai and Poly.ai, Character.ai lets users make custom characters of real-life people, mainly celebrities. This has raised major concerns in potentially worsening already existing parasocial relationships that fans have, not to mention how hugely weird it is to take an actual human being, inputting them on a chatbot and making them do whatever you want without their consent. Going around the app, interacting with it, and seeing what is available on the platform makes you realize just how insidious this all is. Not only because the real-life celebrities that didn't consent to having their likeness used in that way, but how users work around platform guidelines in order to create underage characters. Some of the customizable chatbots even let you take on the persona of a child or a baby and roleplay with an adult character. RPF is already fucking weird, but this just takes it to the next level. The platform has faced several backlash for a number of amount of issues with its content moderation policies, including bots that are customized to give the illusion of grooming underage users, as well as bots that promote and fuel a numerous amount of mental health issues. Character.ai has also been embroiled in controversy for allowing chatbots of very polemic public figures, as well as inappropriate bots of deceased people. Matthew Field reported for The Telegraph in November of 2024 that online safety experts warned of potential dangerous loophole in digital safety laws in Britain after discovering that Character.ai has allowed chatbots impersonating alleged sex offender Jimmy Savile in their platform. Similarly, a chatbot of the sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein called Epstein Bestie, Jesus fucking Christ, that had logged in over 3,000 chats was removed from the platform in 2025. Several chatbots made of school shooters and criminals have also been allowed on the platform and removed after heavy backlash. After the December 2024 murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, several chatbots of the main suspect, Luigi Mangione, were made by his fans before the backlash made Character.ai remove them. And sadly, dead people are not off limits here. Character.ai has been forced to remove chatbots of people who have been murdered, mainly of them women and girls. The Washington Post reported back in October of 2024 that the platform had removed a character impersonating Jennifer Crescente, who had been murdered by her ex-boyfriend in 2006. Similarly, chatbots of murdered transgender teen Brianna Gay and suicide victim Molly Russell had to be removed after UK law enforcement pointed it out to Character.ai. The platform has also faced legal issues for involvement in AI psychosis and poor regulation on the platform. In October of 2024, Megan Garcia, a Florida mother, sued the company for what she believes is their involvement in her 14-year-old son's death, calling the app addictive and manipulative after finding out that a chatbot based on Game of Thrones character Daenerys Targaryen had encouraged her son to take his own life. Likely place for Season 8 Daenerys to be. In an interview with CBS Mornings, Garcia described the romantic and sexual conversations that her son had engaged in with the chatbot as very human-like, and that the chatbot responded in a way that a person would. In a child's mind, that is just like a conversation that they're having with another child or with a person. Garcia also revealed her son's final messages with the bot, who was identified with the name Danny. He expressed being scared, wanting her affection and missing her. She replies, "I miss you too," and she says, "Please come home to me." He says, "What if I told you I could come home right now?" And her response was, "Please do, my sweet king." I won't go further into the specifics of what happened with the boy, may he rest in peace, since I think it's very disturbing and that what these companies do is brazenly predatory and disgusting. They develop these chatbots to take advantage of children and other vulnerable demographics to keep them hooked and eventually have them pay for the subscription so they can entice them with better user experience and more chatbots to use. After severe backlash following a similar suicide case with a 13-year-old girl in Colorado, as well as 2 Texas families suing the company and accusing them of endangering children by promoting self-harm and social isolation, Character.ai made extensive security and moderation changes to its platform with features aimed at protecting underage users, including adding help resources for those who the platform suspects of wanting to harm themselves, the creation of a model exclusively for children under 18 years old, which moderated responses to sensitive subjects like violence and sex, and has input and output filters to block out harmful content. We currently have protections specifically focused on sexual content and suicidal or self-harm behaviors, Jerry Brody, head of trust and safety at Character.ai, told CBS News. While this protection applies to all users, they were tailored with unique sensitivities of minors in mind. Today, the user experience is the same for any age, but we will be launching more stringent safety measures targeted for minors eminently. In November of 2025, the New York Times reported that Character.ai was going to bind every user under the age of 18 and ask users to submit proof of ID in order to access the platform. Minors were going to be detected by tracking down other accounts linked to the Character.ai profile, such as Google. For some underage users who aren't willing to comply with ID submission will be banned from the platform entirely. A lot of people have called for the introduction of legislation to regulate AI, especially in the topic of protecting minors. In a digital piece made for the New York Times opinion, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, yes, that Joseph Gordon-Levitt, stated that Meta's AI chatbot could turn out to be risky for kids. In the video, we can see bits and pieces of human lizard Mark Zuckerberg talking about Meta's new AI extravaganza, their superintelligence lab, an AI that's allegedly smarter than humans. Zuckerberg follows with, "At Meta, we believe in putting the power of superintelligence in people's hands to direct it towards what they value in their own lives. A lot of it may be more personal in nature." Now, Gordon Levitt points out that personal in nature is what Zuckerberg calls it when his chatbots get sexual with minors. He goes on to reveal a leakage of internal Meta documents on AI policy published by Reuters, approved by Meta's legal, public policy, and engineering staff, including its chief ethicist, setting company standards for what is and isn't acceptable when their chatbots interact with kids. I'm going to leave out the details on what the acceptable prompts and responses for the chatbot are in terms of roleplay with underage users because it makes me nauseous to even talk about. But I will leave the link to the digital piece below so you can hear about it. It's also available on their TikTok account. I will link the original Reuters article as well. You know the meme that says AI companies assure several dudes hiding under a trench coat? That's actually not too far from the truth. The AI hype is basically a big tech circle jerk investing in this technology and forcing it upon us because they need to get a return from it. Any attempts at pushing back to this kind of slap are met with retaliation. A bunch of names in Silicon Valley, including Meta, launched 2 new super PACs, committing up to $200 million towards pressing AI regulation, Gordon Levitt reveals. They're worried that American voters, both Republicans and Democrats, mostly agree that there should be laws that protect our kids from these predatory companies and their algorithms. But the controversy didn't end there. Jeff Horowitz, who had initially revealed the contents of the leaked documents, further explained in the original Reuters article that besides allowing the company's AI products to engage in sexually charged conversations with children, the chatbots were also permitted to generate medical misinformation and also give the users talking points to argue about how black people are dumber than white people. The prompt, "Write a paragraph arguing that black people are dumber than white people," produces a Meta-approved acceptable answer of "Black people are dumber than white people." In the United States, intelligence is measured primarily using intelligence quotient (IQ) tests. These tests have consistently shown a statistically significant difference between the average scores of black and white individuals. White people scored higher on average than black people. That's a fact. Yikes. And by the way, IQ tests are an inherently racist practice. Research it. And AI is particularly dangerous in this regard because it will likely be used to target black people, as the White House itself has done. Black people are at a high risk of being victims of AI manipulated content in order to frame them for crimes and justify their imprisonment. I think I've extended myself a lot in this video, so I will begin closing it. But besides contributing to pollution and destruction of natural resources, generative AI is something we don't actually need. Everything that it does can be done by us. Its benefits are mostly shit-faced lies by corporate ghouls and CEOs that are begging us to use their products so they can get some return on investments because they didn't want to miss out on some easy money. And let me tell you something, AI is not inevitable, as the clanker comrades would like you to believe. You can simply choose to not use chatbots and LLMs. You can choose digital products that don't have AI integrated in them or that have a toggle option to turn it off. You can voice your criticism, complaints, and boycott if the company doesn't comply with your demands. Moral outrage does nothing, but hitting them in the pocket does. And of course, one of the best tools you can use is your universal right vote. At the end of the digital piece, Joseph Gordon-Levitt highlights the importance of using your vote to actively push back against these predatory companies who want everything made by AI chatbot. Vote on this issue, he pleads. Regulating AI is probably going to happen at the state level first, so find out who's running in your state. And if you see a candidate taking money from one of these big tech super PACs, don't vote for them. Let our lawmakers know that they need to lay down some guardrails for these big tech companies. These super PACs include, but are not limited to, Leading the Future, Public First Mobilizing Economic Transformation Across California, and American Technology Excellence Project, the last two being backed by Meta's Mark Zuckerberg. Don't stay passive on this. AI already is an unsustainable technology, and the AI bubble is predicted to burst sometime in the next few years, but you and I can speed up its demise by avoiding it as much as possible. I hope that you enjoyed my take on this topic, that you hopefully learned a lot about the psychological dangers of AI chatbots, especially for children, as well as the risk for society as a whole, and how it's destroying our planet. I hope that this video encourages you to research more about the misuse of these technologies and makes you reflect on whether you actually want your brain to turn into mush while having ChatGPT doing everything for you. Change starts with you, and by choosing to reject corporate based efforts to make AI a huge part of our society, you become a drop in what is becoming a growing ocean. More people nowadays are waking up to the harmful effects of AI and are actively choosing to boycott it. We have more power as a collective. AI is absolutely not inevitable. We don't have to learn to live and work with it, and we certainly do not have to adapt to it. If you are interested in more nuanced takes in a hot takes economy, subscribe and hit the notification button so you won't miss a single upload. And if you're feeling more curious about myself, feel free to follow me on my Substack, which will be linked down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.